when you get invited to come and do these sort of talks, you say yes a while before the event, and then you think about it nearer the time and think, actually, how am I going to bring this to life? For any of you that are familiar with UK roundabouts, and I hope there's not that many in the room, this is Hemel Hempstead. Doesn't really matter where it is. But the point is, this is Hemel Hempstead with a very, very challenging roundabout, and I thought it's quite a good analogy to bring to life the challenges that I've felt as a marketeer through the course of my career at various points. I'm going to try and bring a couple of examples to life over the next 15 minutes or so. So I think marketing is fundamentally simple, in my somewhat humble opinion. You can spend years qualifying for it, you can spend years studying it. You need to cut through, you need to get noticed, and you need to be persuasive. I do not think it is more difficult than that. It clearly is more difficult than that, but as a set of principles, that's what I buy into. And there's 4 areas as marketeer that I think I've kind of really tried to leverage through the course of my career. The use of insight, generating that point of differentiation, the role of new news, and fundamentally, is it working? What's the payback? What's the commercial impact? What's the ROI? And those, I guess, bedrocks are the piece that kind of makes me the marketeer that I am and the way that I work today. So let's go back to the theme, creating turnaround moments. I think the first thing to do is we need to recognise the need for change, actually. And if you're a marketeer and you're sat in your desk and you're faced with a number of challenges, actually, I guess we all have to recognise that no 2 challenges that any brand faces are ever the same. That's really, really key. And I'm really respectful of the experience that's in the room today. My views of my experience, and actually, I think what I conclude is there's a number of things that are really important. I think don't allow the slow car crash to happen is my first piece of advice. You can all see it coming. I guess there's always those brand metrics, those KPIs that are always sat there in front of you, gnawing away at you. And one of the big things that I think I've concluded is you can get sometimes guilty of being waiting for almost the brand planning cycle to tackle the challenges head on. Actually, the challenges should be tackled at the right time, and that right time might be just now, even if your brand planning cycle is completed. So the KPIs are there. I think the really big piece as well is actually recognising and aligning internally. We all know that actually getting all the stakeholders on the same page is one of the biggest challenges we face. And actually, if you can do that, I think you have the permission to go, which of course is also one of the bigger challenges that you need to be able to deliver on. And so we did something that was completely different. We pulled ourselves out of the usual briefing scenario whereby you get the PowerPoint slide on a big screen, you pull the agency into the room or the agency partners into the room, and then you go through 15 pages of mandatories. We didn't do that at all. We took a very, very different approach. We stepped back, we recognised we had a factory across the road that was producing quite brilliant products day in, day out, and said to the team, right, we're going on a bit of a journey. 10 minutes into the journey, some bright spark said, well, that looks like it's been knitted. And out of that conversation came the brand idea that is still alive today. Really, really interesting. All of a sudden, we had an opportunity to appeal to a much broader target audience. We had gone very, very niche. We were talking much broader in terms of our target audience. We were exploiting a unique brand truth. Actually, we weren't celebrating enough the product. We probably got to a point where we were talking about a benefit that was too narrow for too small a group. All of a sudden as well, we had a flexible approach for multi-channel execution. It was traditional media, and yes, we did use traditional media. We very heavily used TV to create the environment and create the equity. We also used what I called at the time emerging media. So, I mean, what is considered today, I guess, core media in and around social. Social was really, really gathering pace about 8 to 10 years ago. And we partnered up with the guys at Facebook, did some really interesting work. And actually now, the Shreddies brand is the 2nd biggest cereal brand globally on Facebook. So actually, it proves if you can get something that works and provides engagement, you've got something that people really, really want to talk about, even cereal. One of the beautiful things, I suppose, if you're a cereal marketeer, is you have a huge pack. Actually, one of the things that a lot of you might have in the room is, smaller packs with which you work with. But actually, one of the things we realised is this, and I've stolen this shamelessly from another business, this idea of pack-vertising is something that you can really bring to life. And actually, I hugely believe, as a marketeer, that whatever idea you've got behind whatever brand, you've got to work in the most brutal of environments. And if it's working in that most brutal environments, the supermarket shelves, you've got a chance of winning. And so taking any brand idea and taking it through to shelf was a big part, and I still fundamentally believe in any marketing that I deliver as a marketer. So it also gave us, this whole Nana's equity, a definitive position versus private label. Nana's could only make shreddies. In fact, you can see it here. Only shreddies are knitted by nanas, and don't you forget it. It gave us an opportunity to create some space between the private label and the branded version. Actually, you're not going to get sort of little Johnny at 5 in the morning or 7 in the morning nagging for private label if you've got something that feels like it's got a little bit more kudos attached to it. And actually, I had a number of different conversations with friends of mine who had children at that age who were saying, could you just clarify who knitted this particular pack? It's what strange conversations you find yourself in as a marketeer from time to time. Really big thing for us, I think, as a business, and you should never lose sight of this, is we sometimes get introverted as marketeers and think too much about the brand. Of course, that's really, really important, but also what are you bringing back to the category is a huge part of what we were trying to do. And so we went and talked to the retailers and talked about bringing this kind of big breakthrough news for the brand. And they were interested because actually there wasn't necessarily lots being brought to them that was of real interest. And so they were very interested in terms of wanting to support that in terms of point of sale as well. So we had the pack working, we had the advertising working, we had the social media working, we were taking it through to the retailers. And so that was all good. We were getting internal alignment as well, which I think is super important, one of those key messages I would leave with you. And externally, we began to win with shoppers and customers. It was a catalyst for reappraisal. So like it or love it, it clearly has worked for the Shreddies brand. It's still alive today and very much used by that particular brand as a communication vehicle. So wrapping it all up, there is no silver bullet. If there was, someone would be very rich by now. There are, I think, some really interesting commonalities between brand challenges, but no two brand challenges are ever the same. I personally believe insight and intuition are critical. That's the bedrock of what I believe as a marketeer. It's about being the right team, the right questions at the right time. I think that's a really important part of what I've learned along the way. I also believe good ideas can come from anywhere. I don't think it is the preserve of the clever creative at the advertising agency. It doesn't matter where the best ideas come from, as long as they work. Hugely believe in that. And actually, solutions don't have to cost big pounds as well. So yes, you can do big campaigns like Knitted by Nanas, but by the same token, actually, you can do simple changes like pack changes that exploit your proposition, and actually that can turn around a brand as well. Bravery, for me, is a big part of what I believe in, but it has to be, I guess, measured bravery depending on the task in hand.